Hey, how's it going today? It's Will Ripley here with Campfire Guitar Star. So, as you can tell, I'm in a little bit of a different location today. I am doing a little workcation out of town at my buddy's place, which happened to be vacant. So I'm staying at his place. He has this beautiful Martin guitar, and of course the beautiful backdrop here. So I'm just outside of Nelson, BC here in Canada. And let's get into a blues guitar lesson here. I wanted to show you something that I'm doing with open G tuning. And I love open G tuning because when I first started experimenting with open tunings in general, the first tuning I was introduced to was open E. And what that does is it's when you strum all 6 strings, it essentially plays an open E chord. So as you know, you've got your regular E major fretting here, but you tune up all the strings, so your A string and your D string and your G string all represent those notes without actually having to fret them. So then you just strum it open and it ends up being an E major chord. However, you have to raise the pitch of all these notes, and I found myself actually breaking strings, and it kind of puts maybe unnecessary tension on your neck when you're tuning strings up. And so I wanted to get into open G today because it's probably my favorite open tuning. I've really been digging into it in the last couple of years, really enjoying it. So maybe the most famous guitar player to use open G tuning was Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. Countless other artists have used it too, but what I love about open G tuning so much is how accessible it is. You can actually just tune 2 strings, okay, and then you're going to be able to access all the amazing slide guitar, open blues, open tuning kind of amazingness that open G can provide. So here I am in standard tuning. And with just changing 2 strings, we're going to change our A string to G and our E string to D. Okay, so we're going to drop those down by a full step. And you can actually utilize your other open strings to tune by ear. So I'll show you what I mean. So I said that our A string is going to tune down to G. So what you want to do is actually reference your G string, that note. And it's actually really similar if you've ever tuned down to drop D tuning, but it's we're going to go A to G. So I'm going to reference my G string and tune it down until you just hear them go in sync together. So there's still quite a bit of dissonance there. You can kind of hear a wobble. But then sure enough, they kind of just settle in, and when you play them at the same time, almost sounds like I'm playing 1 string. So that's kind of what you're going for there. And so now my A string is tuned to G, and of course you can just do this on a tuner as well if you know how to use your chromatic tuner. But yeah, I find it even faster than a tuner. Okay, so then I've got this sound going on with the first few strings, and then the second string that you want to tune, and then we're done, and we're pretty much in open G. Is you're going to change your E string to D. So we're going to reference our D string here and change our E string, and we're going to drop that down a full step. So you can see those are obviously 2 different notes. We're just waiting for those to sink in. A lot of dissonance still. There you go. And same thing, if I play them at the same time, we're going to notice that it almost sounds like 1 string's ringing. So the thing is Keith Richards would do this, is he would actually take off his low string altogether and only play 5 strings. And it completely makes sense because all the open G stuff, you're just going to be using those 5 strings. So in this case is G, D, G, B, D. Okay? And a lot of times, yeah, you can just play all 5 strings. Just make the tweaks so that everything just sounds in tune. So the very first technique I want to show you is just a really basic blues shuffle thing. So these techniques are actually really easy, and they're even more easy in open G than they are in standard tuning. So in this case, I'm just using, and I'm just going to reference what we know as our open strings, even though they aren't. So I'm still going to refer to this string, even though it's G, we're going to refer to it as the A string just for simplicity, because that's kind of probably what you're used to hearing most often. So I've got my A string and my D string, and I'm just using my 2nd fret on the D string. And you can actually just alternate back and forth between those two. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You can even throw in that open G string there for kind of an added emphasis on the coolness factor. So yeah, so it'd be like, so you can just keep on rocking on that if you like. And then throw in that open G if you like too. All these strings, like all the strings, just sound good, so you can actually go. Right, so that's the cool, such an amazing thing about open tunings is that factor of just any string that you play is going to be in key and in tune. So that's awesome. So quite simply, we can just go 0, 2 on that D string. But you can even play all those open strings. So in there, it helps to do the higher strings with an upstroke. Anyways, it just sounds like super old-timey and like kind of legit. And then you can extend this up to that 3rd fret of the D string. Throw in that open G string there if you'd like. So the thing with blues is that we've got really 3 chords. We've got our 1 chord and our 4 chord and our 5 chord. Now, don't worry too much about the theory and stuff behind that. What all you really want to know is where to play those notes and how to access that blues sound. So quite simply, what we're going to do is we're going to go grab that same concept, but now we're going to play it up on the 5th fret. So here what you want to do is actually cover both 5th frets on the A string, which is now G, and the D string. So that's just about 5th fret on those 2 strings. And it looks like a power chord, but because we have some tuned notes, you can actually, you'll really get this blues sound, but it looks like a power chord if you were in standard tuning, but of course it's going to sound differently because we're in open tuning. So we're going to hit those 2 strings, and then on your D string with your 3rd finger, that's going to be that alternated note. So about open tuning is now we can actually bar this whole thing, really similar to how we were doing all open strings, which is kind of like having your finger here, but really the nut and the open strings are handling that. But as soon as you put your 1st finger across all 5 strings, and again, I'm just totally ignoring my low E string. I haven't tuned it differently, and these are really those 5 strings are the ones that you want to pay attention to. So we got this idea, so we can actually do like essentially a bar chord. So when you do that alternation with the 3rd finger 2 frets higher up on the 7th fret of the D string, so there I'm just hitting that G string. Okay, and then we could go back to the open strings. And then the third chord, or the 5 chord, as the bluesmen call it, would be up here on the 7th fret. And you do that exact same technique that we just talked about on the 5th fret, down to the 5th fret. Okay, so this is your 1 chord with the open strings. Your 4 chord is up on the 5th fret, and then your 5 chord would be up on the 7th fret. Okay, and then we could do a really like simple 1-finger turnaround, and what that's going to look like is on the 3rd fret of the D string, and I'll just play it for you first so you know what it sounds like. So we do come down, and here comes the turnaround. Okay, so something like that, and quite simply, you're just going to hit your D string 3rd fret with your 1st finger and just descend down 1 fret at a time. And as you can see, I'm just strumming out the rest of those strings. And then all open strings, and that would just be strummed from the D string there. And yeah, you can mess around with that. Like you can go, or in this case, what I was doing earlier was just kind of strumming it out. And then going back up to the 7th fret on that little bar chord there. Okay? So what that would look like all together is we've got the 1 chord with the open strings. There's my buddy. We've got the 4 chord up on the 5th fret, and then the 5 chord up on the 7th fret, and the turnaround. Okay, and of course the thing is with blues, and we'll be getting into this in future lessons, I want to do a whole lesson strictly on the form of the blues, but maybe you've heard of it as a 12-bar blues, and that's just referencing how many times you play the 1 chord, how many times you play the 4 chord, how many times you play the 5 chord, and where the turnaround comes in at the end. So let's just try to stick with each other here. We'll play this thing nice and slow, and we'll go through that 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord, and the turnaround. Okay, so we'll just do something nice and slow, like that shuffle. Okay, something like that. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. And then we switch. Do that extension, and then we're back down to the open. And now we're going to go up to the 7th fret. Down to 5. And then the turnaround. And one more time. Throwing in some additional stuff there, but we can just keep it simple. Now we're going to go up to the 5th fret. And up to the 7th fret. Down to the 5th fret. Turn around. To the 7th fret. Okay? So it sounds really awesome and like legitimate acoustic blues. However, as I'm sure you've been noticing if you've been sticking with me throughout this lesson, is we're really using some very fundamental techniques. But because we're able to integrate open strings and we don't have to fret them, and as long as you're strumming them, and when you do strum them, they're actually all in key because we're using this open tuning, then you're just off to the races. So just a couple of additional things that you can do, and we're going to kind of expand on these topics a little bit so you can get even a more legitimate blues sound and kind of tap into the Keith Richards vibe a little bit, is some of those extension notes that I was doing and messing around with. So as you know, we were just alternating between that 2nd fret on the D string. But this note right here is really cool, because what we can do is so there I was just hitting that 3rd fret of the, which is now the G string, but it's, you know, we'll refer to it as the A string. So that's a cool little lick. Or you can even go and hit some of those just extra strings. It's totally okay. Like, you can let your right hand or your strumming hand kind of like let loose a little bit more, okay? So, and then as we mentioned earlier, we can do the extension here. So that would just be going 2 to 3, and then you can add in the 3rd on like the 3rd fret here too. Okay, so you can really mess around with a lot of these notes right in this zone, and again, just one note at a time, but integrating those open strings sounds pretty awesome. And then we can also extend this up 1 fret into those open strings. And that was a hammer-on, 3rd to 4 hammer-on, hitting that open G string at the end. Okay, and then here we can do the same thing. Extend that up to the pinky finger. But what I want to show you here is the Keith Richards technique, which is which you'll find in all kinds of hit Rolling Stones songs. Okay, so what I'm doing there is, and this sounds great if you want to expand on this idea, what actually sounds great is if you just add in your 2nd finger up on the B string, and in standard tuning you would kind of think of this as a minor 7 chord, but again, because we've tuned a couple of our strings, it's going to be totally different. It's really just like a major chord. And the Black Crowes were really famous for using this technique too. And so we talked about putting this 3rd finger on that D string already, and then you're just going to add on your 2nd finger up on that B string, just 1 fret higher than your bar. Okay, so there's the shape and there's the sound. And what you can actually do is just alternate between this chord, this bar chord, and your 3rd finger and 2nd finger down. Okay, so we can go like this with all these extensions. It would sound something like this. See, I'm messing around with the order of those notes. Okay, so as long as you find these notes, just mess around with them and just find all kinds of cool little passages in there. And then when we go up here, same rhythm, but now I'm strumming all 5 strings and adding on my 2nd finger on that 6th fret of the B string. And my strumming there is down, 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 up. Okay, on those high strings I'm hitting that upstroke. There's that 3rd fret to get that kind of like brooding, you know, intense kind of blues sound. Up to 7th fret, we can do that exact same technique, that Keith Richards technique. And then down to 5th. There's that 3rd fret. And then that turnaround. okay? So hopefully you got something from this lesson today. Let me know if you want me to get more into the slide and some slide techniques, because really the fundamental breakdown, just really quick, you go to those same frets, but you do it with a slide, and then 7th fret. But there is some techniques with the slide that I can definitely break down in a lesson. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to break into some slide in open G, and yeah, more so what I was doing on the intro of the song. But I wanted to kind of show you, firstly, just how to get into open G tuning, and some techniques to just mess around and get the fundamental 12-bar blues going on with those, and you can just get it going on really simple. And then we had those additional notes. So obviously I'm just improvising and just messing around, but I find it a really inspiring tuning to mess around with. So I definitely wanted to share that with you today. So leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this lesson, and if we should dig into some more of this open G stuff in upcoming lessons. Stick with us for Live Lesson Wednesday. We're doing that every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Mike and I were alternating week by week, so next week I'll be going live on the YouTube channel. And also the Facebook group, Beginner Guitar Players on Facebook. That's the group that Mike and I both moderate. If you haven't got the 5-Minute Guitar book shipped right to your door, and access to our free beginner guitar system, 5-Minute Guitar, it's totally all free on the house. You can find links for that in the description below. Make sure to download the PDF for this lesson. And of course, if you're ever interested in our other programs, we've got a blues course, a lead course, an acoustic course, a 1960s rock song collection course, and of course our free beginner guitar system. And also we do one-on-one webcam lessons for students all over the world. It would be really cool to link up with you so we can actually give you real-time feedback, so we can make tweaks and just accelerate your guitar playing really faster than any other method. When you get feedback on your playing from a pro, man, it just really does wonders for your playing. I'm a big advocate of one-on-one lessons, and I've taken a ton of them. So hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave me a comment below, and we'll catch you in the next lesson.